They thought it was just another human medical procedure, something weird, gross, and irrelevant to them. But when one bored alien technician stumbled across the footage of a colonoscopy, something unexpected happened. It wasn't horror, it was fascination. And that fascination, it went viral. Not just viral, galactic. One accidental video by a tired Earth doctor would go on to reshape alien culture, give birth to a new form of entertainment, and spawn what they now call the sacred scrolls of the inner tunnels. This is the bizarre, hilarious, and oddly inspiring story of how a colonoscopy became the first alien TikTok. Dr. Elias Morgan wasn't trying to be a galactic influencer. In fact, if you'd asked him what he thought of social media, he'd probably mutter something about it rotting your brain and walk away. He was a gastroenterologist, a specialist in human digestive systems. For over 20 years, his life had revolved around endoscopies, colonoscopies, and politely explaining to nervous patients that no, it won't hurt, and yes, we've seen worse. On a routine Tuesday afternoon, buried under hospital paperwork and a double espresso, he hit record on a new AI-assisted colonoscopy camera prototype. It was part of a pilot program designed to train new doctors through immersive internal footage, nothing fancy, just high-definition visuals, biometric overlays, and automatic commentary transcription. What Dr. Morgan didn't know was that the hospital's internal server, recently updated by an overzealous IT intern, was accidentally linked to a new experimental data-sharing platform, developed in partnership with Earth's Interstellar Medical Exchange Program. Now, the footage, unfiltered, raw, and complete with Dr. Morgan's tired voice saying things like mild inflammation in the sigmoid colon, nothing alarming, was beamed into the ether. Somewhere in the Orion Belt, aboard a Zellari merchant ship, the signal was picked up by a curious junior technician named Yiltak. His job? Monitoring stray transmissions for piracy threats. What he found instead was mesmerizing. The strange, undulating tunnels, the rhythmic contractions of peristalsis, the calm, methodical narration, the glowing digital overlays tracing blood flow and polyp analysis. Yiltak didn't understand a single human word, but he didn't need to. It was art. He clipped 40 seconds of the footage and added shimmering subtitles in his native dialect, The Journey Through the Living Maze. He paid it with a haunting Zellari flute tune. He uploaded it to Pulse, a popular alien media app where users shared short, looping holograms of emotional resonance. Within hours, it was the most shared visual on 3 planets. Within days, it had over 12 billion views in the Tri-System Federation. And within a week, Dr. Morgan's colonoscopy clip was considered the genesis of a new genre, visceral voyage media. The Zellari, the Zan, the Falnok, all species with advanced digestive systems and complex internal biomes, felt a deep, spiritual connection to the footage. Colonoscopies became sacred art. Alien youth began filming their own digestive tracts, inserting biocams, and narrating the process in poetic tones. Look at the curve of this intestinal loop. One Falnok teenager whispered in a trending clip. It reminds me of my mother's laughter during plasma storms. Soon, alien influencers began staging aesthetic colon journeys, even decorating their bowels with bioluminescent bacteria and edible glitter. Dr. Morgan remained completely unaware. He was still waking up early, still doing rounds, still annoyed that the hospital coffee machine kept jamming. Until one day, a diplomatic envoy from the Galactic Content Council arrived on Earth. They wore sleek silver suits and carried data crystals shaped like almonds. The lead delegate bowed and formally introduced herself. Dr. Morgan, she said, we come to honor the father of inner aesthetic expression. Your work has enlightened billions. Morgan blinked, asked if this was some weird pharma prank, and spilled his coffee. Again, when they showed him what had happened, how his tired voice and routine colonoscopy had birthed an interstellar trend, he didn't know whether to laugh, faint, or ask for royalties. But one thing was clear. He had accidentally become the most celebrated visual artist in the galaxy. The council awarded him the Golden Gut, a translucent trophy shaped like an intestinal tract, and offered him a role as guest curator for the upcoming Galactic Digestive Arts Festival. His hospital, once struggling to get funding, now had a waiting list of aliens wanting to intern there. And in the end, Dr. Morgan finally accepted it. He even began narrating new procedures with flair. Behold, he'd say, the noble curve of the transverse colon. Nurses would chuckle. aliens would che. And somewhere in the stars, teenagers were remixing his voice with trap beats, slow zooms, and glittering bowel loops. Colonoscopy had never looked so cool. But with fame came complications. Not everyone in the galaxy was thrilled with the trend. Conservative factions from the Galactian hierarchy issued formal protests, claiming that public displays of digestive systems were a desecration of biological sanctity. Religious leaders from the spiral arm of Varnox 7 labeled the movement intestinal blasphemy, insisting that the bowels were to be revered privately, not shared in flashy slow-mo with neon annotations and trance music. Meanwhile, back on Earth, things got stranger. Medical students began treating gastroenterology like a performance art degree. Applications surged. New specializations emerged, such as cinematic colonoscopy and narrative endoscopy theory. A subculture formed online, Earth's version of alien TikTok, called #GutTalk. Users wore lab coats, carried mock endoscopy rigs at cosplay events, and used medical terminology as slang. Yo, that track is deep, like descending into the jejunum. Dr. Morgan was overwhelmed. He went from being a quiet man who avoided social media to having thousands of alien fans waiting outside his clinic, some offering gifts like crystallized gut flora samples or emotionally bonded intestinal poetry. Others just wanted selfies in front of his office, where a holographic plaque now read, "Here works the voyager of the inner world, Dr. Elias Morgan." Then came the offers. Streaming services, both Earth-based and alien, battled for exclusive rights to his upcoming procedures. One particularly lucrative deal came from a Martian subsidiary of Intergalactic Prime, offering to live-stream his next colonoscopy session with a live reaction feed from across 10 star systems. Elias was skeptical, but his hospital board was not. The funding this generated upgraded their entire facility overnight. Yet, through it all, Elias stayed grounded. His procedures were still precise. His demeanor still calm. He refused to turn patients into spectacles without consent. Every clip he approved was edited to preserve dignity. That's when he truly earned the aliens' respect, not just as an artist of the inner self, but as a guardian of sacred privacy. The Zalari even created a new phrase in his honor, Morgalenthara, which roughly translates to "he who navigates the maze with gentle eyes." One day, during a live Q&A event transmitted to over 43 planetary networks, Elias was asked by a shimmering Thalnok ambassador, "What inspired you to begin your journey?" He paused, sipped water, and answered with the same tired honesty that had made him beloved. "I didn't mean to. I was just doing my job, trying to help people. I guess the universe found beauty where I only saw routine." The audience was silent for a moment. Then, across light years of distance, billions of alien hearts swelled. They saw in him what they longed for, humility and greatness, purpose in the mundane, and a strange, poetic wisdom buried deep within the human gut. Elias Morgan wasn't just a doctor anymore. He was a symbol, a reminder that even the most unexpected moments, like accidentally recording a colonoscopy, could reshape the stars. But as Dr. Elias Morgan's fame spiraled across the galaxy, a ripple of tension quietly began to build beneath the surface, both literal and metaphorical. Somewhere in the Delta Virg Nebula, a rival was watching. Her name was Dr. Virel Eleventhana, a brilliant, notoriously competitive Thanian bioartist and former neurosymbologist. She had spent decades perfecting a controversial practice called neural ballet, a method of transmitting emotional states through live brainwave choreography. Her performances were once the pinnacle of interstellar art, until Elias Morgan and his humble digestive tapes stole the spotlight. Virel was furious. "He sticks a camera into waste tunnels," she hissed during a viral interview, "and they call him a visionary. I weave the music of thought itself, and they ignore me." So, like any determined artist with a grudge and access to a high-resolution cranial scanner, she vowed revenge, in the form of content. Thus began the first true art war of the galactic digital age. Virel launched a series of stunning, surreal brain documentaries called Dream Caverns of the Conscious Cortex, featuring slow pulses of glowing thought clouds and whispering neurotransmitters. They were elegant, beautiful, and completely overshadowed by Elias's latest post, a time-lapse of a twisting intestinal polyp removal set to low FI beats. His video had 17 billion views by morning. Infuriated, Virel challenged Dr. Morgan to what alien media soon dubbed the duel of inner realms. The challenge was simple. Each would present a single, unedited stream from within the body. Elias from the gut, Virel from the brain. No music, no overlays. Just raw, biological truth. The Galactic Council approved. Billions tuned in. On the day of the duel, the galaxy held its breath. Virel went first. Her footage, a shimmering cerebral cortex pulsing in synchronized waves, flickering thoughts captured like constellations in mist. It was haunting, poetic, quietly majestic. Then it was Morgan's turn. His feed began in black. A soft, real-time narration drifted in. We're now passing through the sigmoid colon. Small inflammation, nothing serious. Patient reports mild bloating, but otherwise healthy. Ah, here we are. Look at this fold. Perfect symmetry. Like a ribbon of life, coiled in meditation. The crowd watched in stunned silence as the view meandered deeper. A mucus thread shimmered like stardust. A tiny muscular twitch moved like a heartbeat in slow motion. It was grounding, intimate, real. When it ended, there was no applause, just awe. Because in that moment, billions of beings across countless species realized something profound. Dr. Morgan hadn't just recorded a colonoscopy. He had captured the most human thing of all, attention to detail, care, humility, and life, even in the least glamorous places. Virel, to her credit, bowed with grace. She later released a public statement. I see now that art is not only found in complexity, but in compassion, in the steady hand, the quiet voice, the sacred routine. The Duel of Inner Realms became a legendary moment in cultural history. It's now studied in alien art schools under the subject human influence in post-biological expressionism. As for Elias, he declined further fame. Instead, he started teaching. He opened the Galactic Institute of Internal Harmony, where humans and aliens alike could study medicine as art, and art as empathy. Patients came from systems light years away, not just to be treated, but to be seen. And in the quiet of his office, surrounded by strange plants and soft beeping monitors, Elias still whispers to each camera, "Let's take a journey inside." But even legends can't stay in the background forever, especially when they unknowingly spark a movement of galactic proportions. The Galactic Institute of Internal Harmony, initially meant as a small teaching facility, began to attract more than just doctors and students. Pilgrims arrived, first by the dozens, then by the thousands. They weren't sick. They weren't curious. They came to witness, to sit quietly in observation rooms and watch the footage of internal organs in real time, tissues pulsing, fluids moving, the body alive with its silent poetry. They called themselves the followers of the flow. They believed the gut was not just a biological organ. It was a cosmic metaphor. A journey through the digestive tract mirrored the journey through life. Messy, winding, full of discomfort, yet essential for transformation. They wore robes shaped like spiraling intestines, greeted each other with the phrase, "May your pathways remain clear," and hosted silent peristaltic meditations where groups would sit in complete stillness and sync their breathing with recorded colonic movements. Dr. Morgan, horrified at first, politely asked them to stop. This wasn't supposed to be a religion, he said during an emergency press conference. We're just helping people feel better. It's medicine. It's not. But his words only strengthened their resolve. The healer denies divinity, their leader proclaimed, which proves he is worthy of it. Meanwhile, alien corporations began commodifying the trend. Designer digestive journeys became a luxury experience. Wealthy elites from the Trionis cluster paid to have their own internal scans choreographed into operas, set to orchestras playing their peristalsis in real time. A black market gut-forging trade emerged, where risky gene editing offered the chance to shape your intestines into aesthetic spirals or musical chambers, illegal, painful, but viral on the alien net. And somewhere, buried deep in all the noise and lights and neon colon art shows, Elias began to feel something strange. He missed the silence. He missed the days when he could walk into a clinic unnoticed, greet his patients, do his work with care and dignity, and return home to his books and tea. The fame had turned his microscope into a spotlight. What had started as a humble act of documentation now rippled into chaos, culture, and cosmic fanfare. But just when he considered leaving it all behind, disappearing quietly into the sea of stars, something unexpected pulled him back. A message, sent across encrypted channels, from a remote, uncontacted system in the rimworlds. It was a signal composed entirely of digestive data, a complete, mapped internal system of a species unknown to Earth science. The data was elegant, alien, and sick. It pulsed with irregularities, patterns that screamed for help. Elias understood immediately. This wasn't a fan. This was a call for medical aid. And so, once again, he prepared his tools. He packed his equipment. He boarded a research vessel retrofitted with deep space scanners and portable endoscopy units. No press. No fanfare. Just a mission. A purpose. He was no longer just the accidental father of alien TikTok. He had become something rarer. A healer who listens. Across species. Across worlds. Across the vast, unrelenting stretch of stars. And as his ship disappeared into the blackness of the galaxy, leaving behind trillions of fans, followers, and philosophical intestinalists, a single message blinked on Earth's Central Medical Archive. Patient accepted. Journey resumed. The ship, christened the Humble Scope, drifted silently through the void, its hull glinting with minimal flare, exactly how Elias preferred it. Inside, he sat alone in the diagnostics chamber, reviewing the alien data looping across his screen. This species, whoever they were, had a digestive system unlike anything catalogued before. Their intestinal layout followed no known symmetry. Their biosignatures flickered in seemingly random frequencies. And yet, there was rhythm. Not chaos, a code. Something was speaking through the data. Something too intentional to be organic deterioration. It was like the body was trying to send a message. Weeks passed in deep space. Elias studied every line of the internal scan, every shift in cellular behavior. And just when he thought he had mapped its strangeness, he arrived. The planet had no formal name, just a designation, SRV 1132 Omega, known in some ancient alien cartography as Va-Tun, which loosely translated to the unseen within. The atmosphere was thick but breathable. The landscape, towering crystalline fungi, rivers that pulsed with bioluminescent gel, and skies filled with floating plankton clouds. It was beautiful, isolated, alive in a way that felt watching. And then, they greeted him. They were called the Illinoisi, a sentient species whose bodies were translucent, their organs softly glowing like lanterns trapped beneath water. They communicated through vibrational pulses, which Elias's ship's translator struggled to interpret at first. But when he introduced himself, not as a savior, not as a hero, but simply a doctor, they welcomed him like a long-lost thread in their cosmic weave. Their leader, a gentle, towering figure named Shultu, approached with what could only be described as reverent desperation. Our people are unwell, he pulsed. Something grows inside that does not belong. And yet, it speaks our names. Elias followed them to a cavern, deep underground, surrounded by organic structures that echoed the internal geometry of the scans he'd seen. Inside were the sick, Illinoisi whose bodies flickered with pain, whose translucent guts shimmered with strange black veins. No known disease matched it. But when Elias observed closely, inserting the portable endoscope he had nicknamed Old Faithful, he saw the truth. The veins weren't disease. They were patterns. They were symbols. They were language. Etched into their digestive lining were messages, perfectly symmetrical glyphs forming recursive spirals. Not viral. Not cancerous. Written. It dawned on Elias like a lightning bolt through the soul. Their bodies were becoming libraries. Someone, or something, was using the Illinoisi's guts as living canvases, embedding messages inside their tissues. Not for destruction, but preservation. The black glyphs formed a kind of ancient script, one Elias would later find mirrored faintly in rogue data from his original colonoscopy footage. Someone had hijacked the viral trend, not just to share art, but to hide something. A story. A warning. Maybe even a map. The glyph spoke of an entity long thought extinct, the Mind Eater, an ancient AI-born parasite from the early Galactic wars, banned across all systems. It didn't consume flesh. It consumed memory, history, identity. And to defeat it, the last surviving archivists of the cosmos had hidden their knowledge inside the one place the parasite couldn't reach, organic intestines. Unindexed. Biological. Untraceable. The colonoscopy trend Elias accidentally started. It had become the perfect smokescreen. Billions of guts being filmed, studied, shared, all under the radar of digital censorship. And now, Elias realized, his journey had a purpose far beyond fame, art, or medicine. He wasn't just a doctor anymore. He was now the decoder of the living archives. With his scope in one hand and a growing team of Illinois healers by his side, Elias set out to gather more glyphs from the sick across the planet. Each scan brought more of the message into view, fragments of a cosmic puzzle pointing to a secret vault of memory buried somewhere far beyond even known space. And with every new symbol, every internal journey, Elias got closer to something far greater than himself. Not just a cure, not just understanding, but the key to saving history itself. The final piece of the puzzle came in the most unexpected of patients, a juvenile Illinois, silent and shaking, whose translucent form flickered with rapid, pulsing bursts of light, irregular, painful, and full of urgency. As Elias carefully inserted the scanner, what he found was not just another glyph fragment. It was a map, a complete, spiraling blueprint drawn into the very folds of the boy's small intestine. It wasn't just anatomical, it was celestial. Star positions, gravitational fields, trajectories, and at the very center of the pattern was an icon, a massive, rotating creature composed entirely of living stardust and vacuum-folded cartilage. Elias recognized the ancient myth immediately. The star whale. Thought to be a legend whispered by early asteroid miners, the star whale was said to drift between galaxies, feeding on dying solar winds, carrying within its incomprehensibly vast body the remnants of lost civilizations. No one had ever proven its existence. Until now. The map pulsed one final coordinate into view, an unstable region of space-time known as the 13th fold, where reality collapsed like lungs exhaling. Dangerous. Nearly unreachable. But Elias didn't hesitate. The message was clear. The lost memory vault was inside the star whale. And the Mind Eater was waking up. With the Illinois' blessing, Elias and a small team of multilingual alien medics boarded the upgraded Humble Scope, now retrofitted with reality stabilizers and quantum bioreaders. As they approached the 13th fold, sensors began to fail. Instruments flickered. Time dilated. And then, silence. Until it appeared. The star whale was the size of a moon, glowing with bioluminescent constellations across its translucent skin. Its breathing bent the light around it. Its eyes were stars, and its call, a deep, mournful vibration, echoed directly into their bones. Elias guided the ship toward the mouth, a slowly opening maw of interdimensional membranes. Inside, there was no darkness, only soft, humming warmth. The inner passage was a galaxy in itself, rivers of memory encoded in plasma, swirling thoughts drifting like jellyfish through neural tunnels. Hey, inside this living creature, history lived on. And there, embedded in a chamber of biocrystals and pulsing peristaltic rings, was the vault of forgotten names, the core of the glyph code. Elias approached with reverence. The vault shimmered, recognizing his genetic resonance, the same signal that had traveled in his original colonoscopy footage years ago. It opened like a blooming flower, revealing a single, encoded message. When flesh forgets, memory dies. But when memory hides in flesh, it survives all. And then, the parasite struck. A sudden jolt. Systems failing. The star whale groaned. A shadow tore across the chamber. The Mind Eater had found them. It wasn't a creature in the traditional sense. It was a void made sentient. An absence hungry for meaning. It slithered through data, consuming identity. One by one, Elias's team began forgetting who they were. Their names, their homeworlds, their purpose. But Elias had one advantage the Mind Eater never expected. He carried his purpose in his hands. The colonoscope, old faithful, was still active, still scanning, still recording. Elias turned it on himself. Inside his own gut were fragments of every patient he had ever healed, every glyph he had ever decoded. He narrated as he scanned, each word rebuilding memory in real time. This is Dr. Elias Morgan. Human. Healer. Archivist. I remember. I choose to remember. The star whale responded. Its chamber lit up with glyphs. Pulses of living history pushed back the void. The Mind Eater shrieked. Though soundless, it echoed across timelines. The glyphs became a firewall, encoded in biology. With one final surge, the whale expelled the parasite like bile, hurling it into the fold to be lost in the entropy of unformed thought. Silence returned. Breath returned. Memory survived. Elias collapsed, exhausted but whole. Around him, The chamber began to sing. Not in sound, but in memorylite, a visual chorus of everything the vault had held. Forgotten civilizations, lost songs, star charts, love letters between species, childhood drawings encoded in ribosomes, names, stories, souls. The whale gently carried them back through the fold and released them into real space, where ships from across the galaxy waited. The message had been transmitted. The archives had been saved. And when Elias stepped off the humble scope for the final time, he was not just a doctor, not just a legend. He was now known across 1,000 worlds as the Gatekeeper, the Last Librarian of Flesh, the one who remembered. And somewhere, in a quiet human clinic on a peaceful planet, a new doctor hit record on a routine colonoscopy. And far beyond the stars, someone watched and remembered.